For 1,000 years, Rome ruled the world. Its legions stretched from Britain to Babylon. Its laws shaped civilization itself. Its emperors were worshipped as gods. But beneath the marble and the monuments lay a question that historians could never fully answer. Who were the Romans really? Not the emperors, not the senators, the people. The millions who lived, worked, and died inside the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. Where did they come from? What did their DNA look like? In 2019, scientists at Stanford University decided to find out. They gathered 127 ancient genomes from 29 archaeological sites in and around Rome. 12,000 years of human history. They compared Roman DNA to every ancient civilization they could sequence: Greeks, Anatolians, Iberians, North Africans, Central Europeans, Levantines. One by one, they ran the comparisons. Only one matched. The study was published in the journal Science, led by Stanford geneticist Jonathan Pritchard and his team. It was the first complete genetic history of Rome ever assembled. They didn't just look at one era. They looked at everything, from hunter-gatherers in the Mesolithic, 10,000 years before the Empire, all the way through the Republic, the Imperial Age, and into the medieval period. What they found rewrote the story of Rome. Because Rome's DNA wasn't static. It moved, it shifted. And at one moment in history, the height of the empire, it changed so dramatically that it no longer looked like the population that founded the city. Long before the Colosseum, before the Senate, before Romulus and Remus, the Italian peninsula was already a crossroads. The first major genetic shift happened around 7,000 years ago when Neolithic farmers arrived from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. They brought agriculture, new tools, and a completely different genetic signature. These farmers didn't just visit. They replaced the hunter-gatherers who had lived there for millennia. Then came the second shift. During the Bronze Age, steppe migrants swept in from Eastern Europe, the same populations that spread Indo-European languages across the continent. They mixed with the Anatolian descended farmers and created the genetic foundation of early Rome. By the time Rome was founded in 753 BCE, the people of central Italy looked genetically similar to modern Mediterranean populations. The foundation was set, but the real transformation hadn't even started. During the Republic, roughly 500 to 27 BCE, Rome's DNA stayed relatively stable. The city grew, conquered its neighbors, absorbed the rest of Italy. But genetically, the population remained anchored in its Mediterranean roots. This was the Rome of Cincinnatus, of Scipio Africanus, of the Punic Wars against Carthage, the Rome that was still becoming Rome. The researchers expected this stability to continue. It did not. Then came the empire. As Rome conquered Greece, Anatolia, the Levant, Egypt, and North Africa, something began to change, not just in the empire, but inside Rome itself. When the Stanford team sequenced genomes from the Imperial period, roughly 27 BCE to 300 CE, the results were unmistakable. Rome's DNA had shifted. The genetic data showed a massive influx of ancestry from the Eastern Mediterranean, Anatolia, the Levant, the Near East. This wasn't a subtle change, it was dramatic. The population of Imperial Rome was genetically closer to the people of the Eastern Mediterranean than to the early Romans who founded the city. The researchers wrote in their paper, during the Imperial period, Rome received net immigration from the Near East, followed by an increase in genetic contributions from across the empire. At least 8% of individuals buried in the Roman Empire weren't from the region where they died. Some had traveled thousands of miles in their lifetimes. Rome had become the first truly global city, and its DNA proved it. So when scientists compared Imperial Roman DNA to the ancient civilizations around the Mediterranean, which one matched? The Eastern Mediterranean world. Anatolia, the Levant, the ancient Near East. It wasn't the Greeks alone. It wasn't the North Africans. It wasn't the Iberians or the Gauls, though all of them left their mark. The dominant genetic signature of Imperial Rome, the one that surged during the empire's peak, came from the east, from the lands that are now Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan. The same genetic cluster that produced the great civilizations of the ancient Near East. Why? Because Rome pulled the entire Mediterranean toward itself. Trade routes brought merchants from Antioch and Alexandria. The Roman army recruited soldiers from Syria and Anatolia. Slaves were captured across the eastern provinces and brought to the capital. Craftsmen, scholars, doctors, architects all flowed toward the center of power, and they didn't just visit, they stayed. They had children, they became Roman. The empire didn't just conquer the East conquered Rome's genes. Then the empire collapsed, and the genetic data shows something remarkable. When Rome fell, the massive mobility stopped. People stopped moving across continents. The regional differences that had blurred during the Imperial period began to sharpen again. The researchers couldn't be sure why. Maybe soldiers stopped dying far from home. Maybe people returned to their ancestral lands. Maybe, without the empire's roads and trade networks, migration simply became too dangerous. But the result was clear. After centuries of genetic blending, the populations of Europe began drifting apart again. The age of the genetic crossroads was over. There is no single Roman DNA. The Romans were never one people. They were hunter-gatherers and Anatolian farmers, steppe warriors and Greek colonists, Levantine merchants and North African traders. Every empire, every migration, every conquest left its mark in the bones of the dead. The Stanford study proved something that the Romans themselves probably would have recognized. Rome was not a race. It was an idea so powerful that it pulled people across 3 continents to become part of it. Imperial Rome's closest genetic match was the Eastern Mediterranean, the ancient Near East. But the real answer is bigger than any single civilization. Rome was the Mediterranean, all of it, in one city, in one people. Maybe the real question isn't which civilization matched Rome's DNA. Maybe the question is, how many civilizations made Rome what it was? Fade to black.